Welcome to the 250-kilometre review of the Veteran Sherman Electric Unicycle. Wow. So, as you can imagine, because of the range of this machine, we've got to the 250-kilometre review fairly quickly, shall we say. Now, if you've just plonked on this video and it's the first one you've seen, you do need to backtrack and go and see the original 40-minute popcorn-needing video to actually sit down and watch that, where I go through the whole thing. This is a very brief summary on how I've been getting on the small amount of mileage I've done since that, and that leads us to where we are now. So, how have I been finding this wheel? My opinions have not changed at all. It's been spot on. A couple of comments, hundreds of comments have been sent in either by YouTube or by email. We've had loads and loads of questions about things. Pretty much, when I say loads and loads of questions, they're all similar sort of things. So one, do you get pedal dip? Do you get wobble under braking? So wobble under braking, none whatsoever, haven't had any. And pedal dip, haven't had any pedal dip at all. Some users have experienced that, some haven't. We spoke with them, as in terms of Veteran, and said, you know, we haven't experienced this. Have you had many problems with it? He said, no, not really. Seems to be some do, some don't. From the videos that I've seen, it seems to be at the upper end. So as in the extreme end of riding, if you're pushing it real hard and then turn, it seems to, some people seem to have pedal dip. I haven't experienced that, so I can't really comment on it. I'm not going to go any further into it. I haven't experienced that. I'm riding, so I've got it set at 43 kilometers an hour as its maximum. So I'm riding it. I still break arm speed, isn't it? You can break your arms. Causes yourself a serious injury at that sort of speed, but I'm not pushing this thing to the absolute maximum. I have no intent of doing so. This thing is really heavy. And you come off and this thing stays upright and it goes slam into the side of a car, or, God forbid, even worse, a person, child, dog. You are going to be living with guilt for a long period of time. That's not a world I'm entering into. This thing is, yeah, powerful and heavy, so I'm reducing it down to something that's sort of near the limits of normal. Going forward, so the lights have been spot on, so I've ridden this at night now. Really, really bright light. It is actually, of course, adjustable. As I mentioned before, you've got the Allen key fittings either side, left and right, so you can just unscrew them and then move it to the position you want, or leave them slightly loose, so take them off a little bit, and then so it's quite stiff, but you can still then move it up and down. But you do need to be wary of that, because obviously the bolts might fall out. So you might want to put some rubber sealant or something on there to restrict how much the vibration knocks the bolts out. Anyway, it's just a thought. But you can set it how you want it if you want to. It's the same with the rear. You can just twist it around to where you want it, basically. The LCD display. This top part, I did mention this, video 1, it curls up. So the glue needs to be better around there, or you glue it back down yourself, kind of thing. A DIY job. That needs to be sealed down better. It's not massively important. I mean, water's never going to catch and run in here. You'd have to have driving rain like that way somehow into it to get it in. It's going to hit it and roll off, especially if you're traveling at any sort of speed. It's going to roll off it anyway. But it does, to tidy this up, this panel does need sticking down properly. And you just sort that out if they want to finish it off so it's nice and clean and tidy and all-round wheel. That just needs rectifying. That would be really good if they could do that. The display, one thing I haven't really gone much into is the display and what it can do. So you don't need an app to adjust most of the settings. You can adjust the brightness of the display. You can turn off the rear light whilst it's charging. So when you first plug the charger in, the red light comes on. It boots up the machine and the rear light comes on. You can actually turn that off whilst it's charging. The display brightness is just boom, boom, boom. So you've got multi settings on that. So you can have it almost completely off, dim, and it goes all the way up to super bright, which is a nice little feature. Obviously, you've got your lights on. Another feature you've got, and if you're in the UK and probably anywhere else in the world, it has got blue flashing lights. So it made me very excited. And the 8-year-old in me came dancing around the room going, whee, I've got a police electric unicycle. Don't use the blue lights on the streets in the UK. For sure. You will get into a massive amount of problems. If you've got a front-facing headlight unit with blue flashing lights, that is a criminal offence. So do not do that. That would be crazy. It's all right if you're stood in your living room and it's flashing. You can get all excited about it and giddy. But once you go out, do not have that on. Now, it's worth noting, it's easy to select if you don't turn it on properly. I don't think I can do it now. So without the machine booted up, there's no way I'm taking it off this, because it takes about 10 minutes to put it on here. But this, you press it and the blue lights come on. So you press and hold and you get the blue lights coming on. When you're stood up on it, if you've done that and you're messing around with your mates and you ride back off again, make sure you've actually turned them off, because pressing and holding, and once you're stood up here looking down, you can't actually see whether they're on or not, unless it's nighttime, of course. So in the day, you will get into a lot of trouble if you have those on. So worth mentioning that. Trolley handle, I did use that the other day. I actually used a trolley handle, which is pretty rare for me because I ride to and from work, etc. So I'm going from point A to point B and then it's put on charge or whatever. Well, this doesn't need to be, but you just park up by my desk and stick them on charge. With this, absolutely controllable. In fact, I pulled this up and then slid this helmet down over it and then had the handle at the top, so it was carrying my helmet was sat on top and the handle as well. So I did the hand free, which was pretty neat. So no issue whatsoever. When I've stopped multiple times to do stuff with camera and equipment and things like that, this flat base is quite nice. I've rested my phone on it several times. What I would say, as a little mod, you could put in one of those grippy pads on top, just that little square there. If you were constantly putting your phone down or camera equipment and things like that, plonking it on top, dead flat. I've actually take your gloves off, plonk them on top, put that down. It's like a little table whilst you're doing stuff. Now, if you're not into that sort of thing, if you are, you would understand what I'm talking about. It can be so frustrating. You've got like that and that. So you've got a camera and that. You're thinking, right. And you've got gravel all around you and dust and dirt and mud. You think, where do I put this? Plonk it on top. Just a tiny little thing that's pretty neat. One thing I have noticed is at very low speeds, so sort of about 5 miles an hour, motor is noisy. So remember that. So if you're climbing up a long slope, you get a noisy motor. I've also had reports from a rider behind me. Pete was out on a ride yesterday, in fact, at that sort of 40 kilometre hour speed. He said, I can hear a motor noise. And so he can hear that motor. I said, well, I think it might be the tyre, and we couldn't quite get it, but he was pretty adamant. He said, no, it's not the tyre, it's not that rumble sound of the tyre, it's a motor. So the motor is, I would say, is noisy. You could put it in the noisy category in comparison to, say, the other wheel I'm riding right now is the KSS 18. It's pretty much silent. With this, bit more noise you're going to get. So if motor noise is not your thing, then that might annoy you. But at slow speeds, you do tend to get motor noise anyway, especially if you're pushing up a very steep hill, which tends to be when you're going slow. So if you're doing a technical section off-road, by default, you tend to be going slow. So if it's steep, technical climb, you're sort of really putting the most you possibly can on it, and then it's going really slow. So bit of noise there. Rear charge ports. I've actually plugged 2 chargers into this, and man, oh man, how awesome is it to be able to plug 2 fast chargers into this wheel and just see the bar go dunk, 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 dunk. That's just lovely. It's not the first wheel by any means with 2 charge ports, but it's great that you can charge at 10 amps if you really, really want to get it in, especially with these videos. I need to cram them in as much as possible. So one of the other comments we had was, oh my goodness, that comes with a 5 amp charger. It's really noisy. Okay, that's true. But then the question back is, how many miles are you doing a day? Because for this to be noisy all the time, the comment was, it's going to be making that fan noise all the time when you're charging. It is true that it's going to be making that fan noise all the time when you're charging. That would be problematic if you were charging all the time. Complex statement. So my question back was, and I haven't got a reply yet, I don't think, was, well, how many miles are you doing? So if you're doing 65 miles a day, then that, yeah, every single day, every evening, you're going to be charging and you're going to be hearing that fan noise, which is going to be horrible. But if you're doing 65 miles a week, it means just once a week you're going to have fan noise. But do you want fast charging or not? You can then go and get an aftermarket one that's got no fan in it, but it's massively slower. So fast charging, you need a fan to cool the unit. If you really want a slow charge, which would take flipping ages on this, then you can get another one, like a normal brick charger with no fan in it. Up to you. I don't see that as a major problem, but I thought I'd cover that point off anyway. So everything else has been working spot on, no issues whatsoever. So I'm just going to carry on now. I said it was going to be short. I'm going to carry on. I'll come back to you with the 650 kilometer review and then the 1,000. So I'll stick with it and I'll let you know how it goes. But so far, absolutely sweet ride. Awesome. Subscribe, like this video. Please share, comment if you've got any questions, and I'll try and cover them off in the next video. I'll catch you on the next one, guys.